What if the loudest sound in Los Angeles right now isn't the roar inside the arena, but the quiet between words? What if the sentence you've heard 100 times, one game at a time, suddenly feels like code for something heavier? What if the season you thought would be about seeding, matchups, and pace actually turns out to be about memory, meaning, and how you say goodbye to a chapter that changed basketball? You can sense it in small ways, in how people talk in line for coffee near El Segundo, in the way old highlights start sneaking back onto your feed late at night, in the way the banners seem to lean in during warm-ups, like the building itself wants to hear every syllable a little better. This town knows when a story turns. It has a sixth sense for history before it breaks. Here's what we're going to do today without rushing it or dressing it up. We're going to follow the breadcrumbs, language, body tone, minute management. We'll talk about what it would mean for the roster, the identity, and the next summer if the timeline moves. We'll break down how a front office balances respect for a legend with responsibility to a franchise. And we'll ask the only question that really matters. What does right look like when the clock is honest? You're watching Lakers News Fan Report. If purple and gold is in your blood, ride with us. Hit subscribe, drop a like so more Laker fans catch this while it still matters, and turn on the bell. Around here, we don't do noise. We do clarity with emotion. Let's set the scene first. This group is built to win games that matter. There's veteran IQ, playoff muscle memory, and enough depth to survive the travel days that steal legs. There's also caution, the smart kind. Back-to-backs managed. Rotations calibrated for spring, not January applause. That's not fear. That's stewardship, an acknowledgement that the margin is thin and the mission is singular. There's also the simple truth that nothing in sports is forever, even when a player makes it feel that way. The production is still astonishing. The control of pace is still a masterclass. The reads happen before defenses even blink. But the language has shifted from how long can he keep doing this to how should this be finished? That's not a rumor. It's the natural gravity of greatness. On the organizational side, the modeling has already begun. You don't run a franchise like the Lakers by reacting late. You study scenarios, protect optionality, and keep the books clean enough to pivot. That's not disloyalty to the present. It's respect for the jersey. This is a franchise that has said goodbye before, and every time it's done it with a blend of elegance and edge. Memory sits in the middle of this. In this city, we've watched last chapters written like cinema. We felt buildings hold their breath, then exhale as if the lights themselves understood. Fans bring their kids because they want them to say, "I was there." They film warm-ups. They save stubs. They listen more closely to every word. You can't rehearse that, Doc, so let's stop dancing around the center and walk straight at it, with care and without drama. If you felt a colder wind through the season, you're not imagining it. There's a conversation forming, the grown-up kind, the one that asks what's best for a body, a family, a legacy. A city that hears the news we've been building toward, inside league circles, and within the reality of an all-time career approaching its natural turn. There is serious consideration that LeBron James could choose retirement at season's end, and the Lakers are preparing for that possibility. That sentence demands respect. It is not an announcement. It is not a countdown clock. It is a possibility real enough to model, delicate enough to handle with care. When a player who has bent time for 20 years says the end is sooner than later, you listen. When he draws a line around decision-making family first, no theatrics, you honor it. When the franchise plans for multiple futures, you understand why. Why does this possibility carry weight? Age is just a number until the mileage underneath it makes you plan differently. He'll turn 41 in December. The minutes, the trips, the playoff wars, the responsibilities stacked, layer upon layer. Add the public tone, not melodrama, but candor. Add the way the season has been managed. More finish healthy in April than prove a point in January. None of this equals a decision. But together it maps a direction you can't dismiss. What would it mean for the roster if the choice is made? Playmaking would redistribute. Touches shift from a single hub to a more democratic chain two-man actions. More secondary creation, a bigger premium on pace that forces defenses to guard in early windows. Shooting becomes even more precious. Switchable size moves from luxury to requirement. The front office's job becomes threading the needle between ambition and patience. Because the brand demands a fast climb, but the math punishes shortcuts. Cap and draft calculus would tilt. Without a singular star on a maximum number, pathways open. Exceptions matter more. Draft capital gets protected, not scattered. You look for players who can add to a culture, not just to a box score. You hunt leadership in the margins. You refuse nostalgia deals. You build a locker room that polices itself because the daily standard bearer isn't there to do it for you. On the human side, there's a void you don't fix with a press conference. A presence like that sets a tone at breakfast, on the plane, in the weight room. He normalizes professionalism. He makes recovery trendy. He corrects spacing with a look. That's not on a stat sheet, but it's inside every win. If a goodbye comes, the organization will need veterans who carry that standard forward and a coach empowered to demand it. How would the decision unfold if it's a yes? Quietly, with family. Announce when it's ready, not teased. Expect grace, not leaks. Then the franchise does what it has always done. Honor properly, plan responsibly, and move decisively. If it's a no, if the fire burns too hot to walk away, expect clarity too. A 1-year horizon. A stated goal. No drama beyond the scoreboard. How should fans live through this season with that possibility in the air? By leaning in, not looking away. Notice the subtle things, the manipulation of a weak side tag without a dribble. The way a skip pass lands in a shooter's pocket like a practice ritual. The chase down that detonates at exactly the right moment to wake an arena. These are not just plays. They are signatures. Stack those nights and keep them. There will be strong counter-arguments. Look at the production curve. Look at how the modern game rewards skill, IQ, and space as much as burst. Look at how training science has extended peaks. Look at the joy visible on the court, the grin after a perfect read. All of that is real, which is exactly why this is complicated, and exactly why the decision belongs to a small circle, not the comment section. From a competitive standpoint, a 2-track plan is the only adult plan. Compete at the highest level now with tactical adjustments that lower the heaviest lifts. Prioritize lineups that reduce wear without sacrificing identity. Shorten the hard defensive jobs. Use depth proactively. And at the same time, keep July flexible. Don't box yourself into one path for the sake of comfort. Out here, comfort is how windows close. The locker room can turn this cloud into fuel. If the sense inside is that this could be the last lap, say it out loud to each other and let it sharpen focus. Film gets cleaner. Communication gets crisper. Role acceptance becomes pride, not compromise. This city responds to honesty. It pushes athletes to find a little more, then appreciates them when they do. Legacy lives beyond hardware. And that's saying something when the hardware includes a mountain of it. The scoring record felt like a landmark you point at on a road trip. The playoff runs spanned eras. The standard for availability and impact aged like stone. There are players who are great, and there are players who leave a template behind. This is a template. There's also a league-wide ripple whenever a pillar steps away. Narrative space opens. Leadership seats open. The oxygen in the conversation redistributes. Younger stars will step into it. They'll be ready, and the league will be fine. But Los Angeles will do its own goodbye in its own way, with a mix of glamour and grit that only this market can pull off. Let's get practical again. If retirement happens, the organization's first calls are about continuity defense you can trust, spacing you can count on, and playmaking by committee. You target durability as much as highlights. You value shooting gravity that travels into May. You're ruthless about fit. You do not chase names that don't solve playoff problems. You hire leaders, not just scorers. If it doesn't happen, if the decision is to run it back, then the mandate is simple. Reduce non-essential strains. Guard his minutes like a luxury car on a long road trip. Steal rest with smarter bench units. Let younger legs handle ugly defensive chores on Tuesdays in January, so the older legs can own fourth quarters in May. Embrace boring choices that turn into loud results. Later, there's a storytelling layer to all of this too. If this is truly the last dance, the league will want to turn it into a farewell tour. He won't. He'll want the ball, the film, the work. He'll let the city do the poetry. That's fitting. The best endings are chosen, not scripted. The best goodbyes feel like a door closed gently, not slammed. For the coaching staff, this conversation is clarifying. You plan end-of-game sets with a little more intention. You build reps for secondary creators so they can survive the nights when the first option isn't there. You lean into lineups that will matter in matchups that decide the year. You simplify where simplification saves legs. You complicate only where advantage is found. For the front office, you keep your powder dry. You value draft picks as oxygen. You refuse to trade tomorrow's only ladder for today's half step. You scan for distressed asses who become better in your context. You treat culture as the sixth starter. You make the roster harder to guard in 7-game series. Not louder on a Tuesday graphic for the fans. I'll say this. Be present. Take your kids. Tell your stories. Listen to the way the arena quiets before the tip and erupts when a read becomes a bucket without a word spoken. There's a very small number of players who make a city feel bigger. You don't replace that. You honor it. There will be people who insist the conversation itself is disrespectful. I disagree. The conversation is a compliment. It says the standard he set is so high, the only real debate left is how to honor it best. It says the franchise cares enough to get it right. It says the fans are mature enough to handle nuance and love their team through change. And that's where I want you in this. If the season ends with a trophy, do you think the perfect exit is sunlight in June and a decision made in peace? Or do you want one more run on a 1-year, a final lap where every arena gets a last look? If it falls short, does that nudge the choice in either direction, or is the decision already inside him, independent of the scoreboard? Tell me below what ending feels true to you. Not to the narrative machine. My personal view, and this is my opinion, a speculation, not a report, is that the possibility of retirement is real and should be treated with respect. He has earned the right to write the ending in ink, on his terms, with family first. The Lakers should play and plan as if every week might be the last of an era, while leaving a clean runway for one more year if body and heart align.